Base, now the Bidovik Air Space Base, 7-decade-old installation operated by U.S. forces there, and also a critical place between the Arctic Circle, and one that many say is strategically important, as we've seen China increasingly interested in operating there, and also Russia maintaining a military presence in the Arctic. Let's bring in our first guest to discuss this historic visit, the drama around that, and also, of course, the activist judges. He is a Hoover Institute Senior Fellow, the author of many best-selling books. His latest, The End of Everything, How Wars Descend into Annihilation. Victor Davis Hanson on a Friday. Great to see you, Victor. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Bianca. Appreciate it.
All right. I appreciate you because there's so much to get into. Let's first talk about Vice President Vance. It started out sort of as diplomatic, and Usha was going to go, and now it kind of went into something a little more strategic. What did you make of sort of the call this week for JD saying, you know, I'm going to go as well? We saw, you know, some people in their other, you know, travels kind of, you know, protesting them and shouting. It seems like the visit, some locals are trying to make a big to-do out of it. But strategically, this is so important. And President Trump has made it clear the Greenland, one way or the other, needs to be ours, Victor.
Yeah, when he says ours, everybody goes ballistic, but I think what he means ours is he's not saying that we want to go in there and implement a government and take it all over and annex it. He's saying that we need, as the only power, and it's a North American territory, so China and Russia are active in its airspace and its maritime zones, and we need somebody to keep them out and keep it Western. And he says that requires a greater presence than we have. Mm-hmm. And then there's all these disconnects, Bianca. I mean, it's North America. It's closer to New York than it is to Denmark. Denmark is always lecturing everybody on postmodern anti-colonialism, but it's a colonial relic. There's only 50,000 people there. So there has to be some kind of compromise where we have access to protect the West from its enemies. Right. But I don't think anybody wants to take it over and colonize it, as they accuse us of.
Yeah, and we're looking live here at the picture. Air Force 2 is on the ground there in Greenland. And, you know, Greenland is a semi-autonomous territory, stopped being a Danish colony in 1953. And U.S. and Denmark, you know, have had this military installation there for quite some time. In fact, 1951. A strategic part as we look live here, JD Vance and Second Lady Usha Vance departing down onto the tarmac there and the stairs off of Air Force One. The symbolism here is important, though, I think. And JD, obviously, from this week at Quantico, a former Marine, he has a very charismatic way about him as he leads. Whether we saw with the dust up in the Oval Office, Victor, whether we saw at the Munich Security Council, your thoughts on just his positioning as he goes around to these strategic places and has strategic sort of interactions with some of the most important people, and President Trump's sort of relationship with him, although some people have tried to, you know, make a dust up over the Signal chat. Just tell us about what we're seeing here and why JD obviously is a great person to kind of lead this because of his background as well.
Well, nobody can pigeonhole him. I mean, they say he's an elite that went to Yale Law School. Then all of a sudden you learn that he grew up in dire poverty. They say that he doesn't know about security affairs. He was in a combat zone as a Marine. They say he represents the MAGA base. He's married to somebody from India. So he's got every aspect of class, diversity, you name it, in his own family. And then the most important asset about him is he can hold his own with anybody. When he was selected vice president, everybody said, well, he's another white male and he's in Ohio and he doesn't bring anything to the ticket. Then they unleashed him on the Sunday talk shows and they found out that he was irreplaceable. He was the best explicator of the MAGA agenda that we've seen, and he still is. So he's a very valuable person. One last thing very quickly, Greenland in World War II, you remember Denmark was overrun by the Nazis, so it was autonomous, and the Nazis wanted it to disrupt convoys, and they controlled Norway, convoys, and we just went in under Roosevelt and just took it. And we put air bases there, and we stopped the submarine threat very quickly because we didn't ask any niceties. We said, Denmark doesn't exist anymore. The Nazis are in Norway. They're going to use this, and they're going to disrupt and starve England out, and we're not going to put up with it. So we just took it over for 4 years.